Support for this episode is provided by Jonathan Green. Seed your lawn and feed your soil. Jonathan Green, quality lawns since 1881. And CMT Orange Tools. I've been using CMT Orange Tools bits and blades for more than 20 years. To get started on this project, I'm using two 2x6x12s for the base of the rack. I'm adding a 10-degree angle at the end of each 2x6 as a simple design element. The next step is to cut the cross braces to length. I need 4 pieces at 35.5 inches, and I can get them from one 2x6x12. I replaced the blade that came on this saw with a CMT Orange Tools 40-tooth general purpose blade, and it's made a huge difference in this saw's performance. I've measured in 6 inches and 54 inches from each side, and I'll attach the parts together with 3-inch deck screws. Using a clamp with light pressure makes it easy to tap the braces into position. A large work table is a big help on a project like this. I placed a full sheet of plywood on my welding shed / welding table, and that worked great. A pair of sawhorses would work good also. With the last brace attached, the next step is to get started on the 4x4 posts. I picked up 3 12-footers for this project, and the first step is to cut them in half. Next, I'll cut the lap joints, measuring up 8 inches from the bottom and setting the depth of the blade at 1.5 inches. I'll use my circular saw to cut a lap joint in each post. I cut one saw kerf about 1/4 inch apart for the length of the joint. Then I use the hammer to knock out most of the material and then clean up the joint with a sharp chisel. I'll measure in about 1 inch and then cut a 45-degree angle at the top of the post as a decorative element. To support the center of the rack, I'm cutting 4 4x4s at 13.5 inches. I'm not using lap joints for these supports because the 2x6 that I'll be adding to the top of the rack will add additional support. Using a quick clamp to hold the 4x4s in position, I attached the supports to the frame with 3-inch deck screws. Before the rack gets too heavy, I'll move it over to the corner of the yard where it's going to live. Let's take a minute to talk about this project's sponsor, Jonathan Green. I'm really excited to be working with Jonathan Green. Having a beautiful lawn is a bit of a science, but it's not rocket science, and anyone can have one with the right products. Right now, it's September. It's the perfect time for fall seeding. I'm putting down the Black Beauty Ultra for areas like underneath this maple tree. I'll overseed with the Jonathan Green Dense Shade. And since I put down a little topsoil, I'll bring the pH up with the Jonathan Green Magic Cal. For the rest of the property, because I have a clay soil that's prone to compaction, I'll use the Jonathan Green Love Your Soil. Next week, I'll be posting a full video on my fall seeding process, so I hope that you'll tune in for that. To learn more about Jonathan Green products, click on the link in the description below. Once I have the 4x4 posts in position, I'll use 3-inch deck screws to screw them to the frame. For an even stronger joint, I'll come back later with 1/2-inch lag bolts. Before attaching the center post, I'll attach another 2x6 to the outside of the frame. The next step is to add more surface area to the frame. I'll use a 2x6 on either side and a 2x10 in the center. I'll attach the 2x6s and the 2x10 with 3-inch deck screws. Here you can see how the 2x6s screwed to the frame adds additional support to the 4x4 center posts. When I attach the 2x10, I'll tap it into position to have an equal distance on either side of the post. For added strength, I'm using 1/2-inch by 3-inch galvanized lag bolts at the 4 posts at each end. I'm using a 1/4-inch drill bit to drill a pilot hole through the 2x6 and into the 4x4 posts. Then I'll use a 1/2-inch drill bit to drill through the 2x6 frame. The green tape on the drill bit is a depth guide. I don't want to drill any deeper than the 1.5-inch thickness of the 2x6. For the 2 posts in the center, I'm using 1/2-inch by 4-inch lag bolts. Next, I'll need to widen the surface area of the 4x4 posts. I'll get started by cutting the 2x4s to length, and then over at the table saw, I'll rip them to width. Measuring in about 1 inch, I'll add the 45-degree angle cut that will match up with the cut at the top of the post. I'll add these parts to the post with 3 evenly spaced 3-inch deck screws. I'll use an 1/8-inch drill bit to pre-drill holes for the screws. Well, I'm really happy with the way this turned out, and it's great to have the logs off the ground and up on the rack and drying out. As always, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Before you start your next project, click on the link in the description for my professional woodworking plans and build a piece of furniture that will last a lifetime.